I used to draft you every night, 1,000 words I couldn't write. I'd start with high, then lose my breath, afraid to risk, afraid of depth. The screen would glow with empty light, while I rehearsed what might be right. But every line felt much too loud for someone used to hiding proud. The clarinet would fill the air with songs of what I didn't dare. I thought that silence would protect the fragile thoughts I won't perfect. I wanted you to understand the things I held with trembling hands. But love can't bloom without a name, and I just watched it lose its flame. All the things I didn't write are keeping me awake tonight. The words that hovered on my lips but sank beneath my shaking grip. You never knew how much I cared, because I never really dared to press send or say it true. So now those thoughts just haunt me through. I kept the drafts, I saved them all, each fragment like a paper wall. I miss you, please don't drift away. I still can't sleep at end of day. I told myself you'd laugh or leave, then maybe you would not believe. So I just let the words go blind and left the truth for time to find. The clarinet cries soft and clear, as if to echo what I fear. Then maybe you were waiting too for something bold I didn't do. What if you sat and hoped I'd speak? What if your silence wasn't weak, but just a mirror to reflect a love we failed to both protect? All the things I didn't write still fill the corners of my night. And though the chance has come and gone, these melodies keep pulling on. I whisper lines in quiet rooms as prints replace perfumes of nights we shared but never named, of hearts too still to be reclaimed. One day I'll print them, maybe send, but not to you, just to the wind. And if you hear them in a dream or in a clarinet soft stream, just know they once belonged to you, the things I meant, but never true. Told me I love you soft and clear, like words you'd practiced year to year. And I replied with half a smile, while holding back the aching mile. I wanted to believe the sound, but felt my feet still off the ground, my heart not ready to concede, though all I lacked was what you need. You leaned in close, your eyes so kind, but I was lost inside my mind. I tried to match the tone you gave, but silence clung to what I saved. The raw refer rang soft and shy, like raindrops falling from the sky. I whispered back with shaking breath, a word that trembled under deft. almost meant it, every line I spoke with lips but not with spine. I wanted truth to find a place, but fear had taken up that space. I almost meant it like a ghost who lingers close but never shows. My hands reached out but didn't stay. I let my heart drift far away. We danced around the edge of light, between what's real and sounding right. You asked me once, are you still here? I nodded, but my voice was mere. I traced the steam upon my glass while waiting for the doubt to pass. You didn't press, you didn't pray, you just exhaled and closed your eyes. I practiced truth behind closed doors, but love needs more than whispered oars. It needs a wind, a leap, a risk, not silent dreams and promises. I thought that if I faked it well, the feeling too would rise and swell. But love, when force begins to fade and leaves the soul more cold than brave. Meant it, nearly so. I let the empty echo grow. You held my hand and gently sighed, as if you knew I'd already lied. And though I tried to pull it back, that moment cracked along its track. Now with a foot still softly play the notes of love I lost that day. And if I could go back and feel, I'd say those words but make them real. You left me not for what I said, but what I didn't hold instead. I almost meant it, yes it's true, but almost never carried you. I closed the door without a sound, no slamming echoes, no lost ground. I took my coat, I left the key, as if I'd just gone out for tea. The double bass hum slow and deep, like secrets lovers always keep. I didn't cry, I didn't plead, just slipped away with quiet need. I thought you'd hear the floorboard creak, or feel the chill that silence speaks. I left a note unsigned, unread, folded beside the half-made bed. You always knew when I was near, could sense my breath, my smallest fear. So did you feel it when I went, the softest exit ever meant? Did you hear me leave, or sleep right through the space I left was shaped like you? I walked on tiptoe, heart in hand, and hoped you'd maybe understand. No final word, no grand goodbye, just air where once we stood, eye to eye. I couldn't scream, I couldn't grieve. So tell me now, did you hear me leave? I stayed too long, I spoke too little. Our love was song, then just the riddle. I whispered truths into the floor, while wanting something so much more. when I knew the end had come, I couldn't find the strength to run. So I just walked without a sound, a ghost still roaming sacred ground. You didn't chase, you didn't call, you must have known the weight of it all. Some endings come not with a crash, but soft as dusk or fading ash. I hoped you'd sit and feel the change, the quiet house, the rearrange of books I stacked one final time, of love I left between the lines. Did you hear me leave or let me go? Or did you simply never know? That night I vanished like a breeze, a final hush between the keys. The bass still plays where we once danced, its notes like shadows second chanced. I didn't stay, I didn't grieve, but tell me, love, did you hear me leave? We stop beneath the amber glow of street lamps humming soft and low. You reached to speak, then turned aside, and I forgot the words I'd hide. The night stood still, the world went hush, a heartbeat pause, a timeless brush. Our shadows leaned but didn't meet, like strangers who forgot to greet. Your fingers twitched like lines unsaid, a sentence paused then left for dead. My chest held back a final plea, but silence was more proud than me. The cars rolled by the city side, the traffic moved but time denied. 1 second more we might have known, but time like us just moved alone. We're held in a second's grace before the silence took its place. A breath away from please don't go, a love too still for truth to show. You didn't speak, I didn't stay, and so that night just slipped away. The air was warm, but we were cold. 2 actors dropping lines too old. I tried to step, but roots had grown from all the almost we had known. You brushed your coat, I looked behind for words I couldn't seem to find. My feet were stone, your gaze was glass, a final scene that wouldn't pass. Sometimes the smallest things collide, a look, a step, the lips denied. Sometimes the biggest feelings fade because we're too afraid to stay. And I replay that fleeting scene in every quiet in between. That second still repeats each day, the one I didn't ask you to stay. Held in a half-second's dream between goodbye and might have been. I watched you go, I didn't call, and that one pause became our fall. A single blink and it was done. Two silent hearts that beat as one. Now brush drums play our last refrain, a rhythm soft like gentle rain. And in the pause between each bar, I hear the truth of who we are. We didn't fight, we didn't cry, we just let love drift slowly by. I almost said your name today. It hovered in the quiet gray, just on the edge of every breath. A syllable I sealed in death. I poured my coffee, held the cup you used to stir when sun came up. I traced your shape in morning hair, but stopped myself from calling there. I almost said your name out loud, but fear it wrapped me in a shroud. What if you turned but didn't smile? What if I waited all the while just to be met with cold reply? I held it in and let it die. The piano played our favorite tune, a minor key beneath the moon. I bit my lip, I clenched my fist, and swallowed what you wouldn't miss. I've said it to the mirror's face, to notes I've torn, to empty space, but not to you, not when it burned. My voice withdrew and silence turned. I almost said your name again, but silence seems the softer end. For all the things I couldn't claim, I almost said, I said your I saw you reaching for the door. Your fingers brushed the frame once more. The room stood still, the air was tight, and I was caught between the night. The roads played soft like distant rain. My mouth prepared to speak your name, but fear like fog erased the sound. And so I watched you turn around. didn't rush, you gave me time to say something, to cross the line. I could have begged, I could have asked, but silence wore its perfect mask. One breath too long, one beat too shy, and everything we had passed by. Your footsteps faded down the hall, and I just stood there. Through it all, just a breath too late, that's all it takes to watch a heart begin to break. I almost called, I almost stayed, but all those words, they just delayed. Just a breath too late to try, and now I only ask you why. You paused, you hoped, you gave me grace, but I let silence take your place. I wrote it down the night you left, a letter full of soft regret. I still believe in what we were, I just got scared, I wasn't sure. But folded words don't change the truth, or bring back time, or replant roots. I never mailed it, never tried, I just kept living on the side. Some say love is loud and strong, but ours was quiet all along. And though the notes were faint and light, they echoed deeper in the night. I didn't need to shout your name, I only needed not to frame my love inside a breathless pause. But silence was the one I chose. Just a breath too late and gone, a song unfinished, dusk not dawn. I played the chords, I knew the key, but never let you truly see. Just a breath too late to fight, and now I sing to fading light. You were the word I couldn't say, the voice I lost along the way. Now roads, keys drift like shadows near, and all I wish is you could hear that in my heart you still remain, a name I whisper through the rain. But I was just a breath too late. I typed a message late last night, a simple line to set things right. Just wondering, how have you been? Then hit send, let the silence in. The piano tapped like ticking clocks. I waited there in afterthoughts. The screen stayed still, no bubbles came, just quiet where you said my name. I counted minutes like regrets, and watched the time in silhouettes. You saw it, yes, the screen turned blue, but still no answer came from you. I told myself you might be busy, then laughed out loud a little dizzy. 'Cause when it matters, people show, and when they don't, well, now I know. You left me on red and it said it all. No need for words, no rise, no fall, just digital distance, sharp and wide, where once our closeness used to hide. You left me on red, that's how it ends. Not flames, not tears, just quiet bends. And now I talk to empty space, still staring at your ghost online trace. I wrote another line today, then quickly hit delete. Okay, what's left to say when no one hears except my doubts and fading years? The piano chord was soft and slow, like memories we'll never know. I checked again, your name's still bold, but silence grows where warmth gets cold. I never thought we'd end this way, with thumbs and screens and words we weigh. I thought we'd speak, I thought we'd cry, and not ghost each other's last goodbye. You once would text at 2 a.m., just thinking of you now and then. And now a dot, a check, a read, and not a single word I need. You left me on red like a freeze, a final act done without ease. You didn't shout, you didn't lie, just let the silence say goodbye. And now I scroll through what we were, just texts and echoes that still stir. So if someday you feel the same and search my name with quiet shame, I'll probably read, then walk away, because I learned from you that day that love can end in modern dread, with just 2 words left on red. I write you letters every week, in corners I don't dare to speak. Some on napkins, some on skin, some burned before they could begin. The bass line moves like ink would flow across the page, across the snow. But every note stays trapped inside a melody I've yet to write. These are letters I'll never send, composed in shadows that won't mend. I fold them up and let them fall beneath the floorboards of it all. I sealed your name in every line, but left the envelope unsigned. Some truths are safer never told. Some love must die before it's old. If one day you find all I wrote, the ink that stains the threads of hope, I hope you'll see beyond the pen. The words I kept were never pretend. These are letters with no address, but still they hold my full confess. And though they'll never find their end, they are the love I couldn't send. Slipped out as the morning yawned, the light too soft to lay the dawn. No final word, no last embrace, just memories I couldn't face. Your coat still hung behind the chair, the scent of us still in the air. I closed the door without a sound, my heart too loud to keep it down. You always dreamed of peaceful ends, of parting like forgiving friends. But I was never made that way. I vanish slow and drift away. The clarinet began to moan, a sigh that sounded like a moan. I traced the sidewalk with my shame and left behind what had no name. Not you, not time, not love at all. I didn't shout, I didn't cry, I only breathed and let it die. I didn't pack, I didn't ride, I simply faded into night. No drama, storm, or shattered glass, just silence where my footsteps passed. I wonder if you ever knew, or if you thought I just withdrew. Maybe you guessed, maybe you saw the subtle shift, the breathless flaw. I loved you more than words could bear, so much I left it hanging there. For staying would have twisted grace and made a home of empty space. There's power in a quiet leave, a kind of love that doesn't grieve, that walks away with heavy grace and never begs to be replaced. Some say goodbye should feel like screams, but mine was soft like ending dreams. A final note the wind composed beneath a heart I never closed. So if you wake and I'm not there, just know I left with quiet care. No storm, no fight, no grand display, just love that couldn't find its way. And in the hush of clarinet, you'll hear a goodbye with regret. The bass walked soft beneath the keys. The room held echoes drifting ease. You sat across, your hands entwined, and I forgot what I had in mind. I thought I'd come to say goodbye, but found no strength to even try. We sipped the wine, we watched the air, pretending we were never there. Your eyes found mine just for a blink, 1,000 things we didn't speak. The piano played our history in broken chords and minor key. You reached to fix your silver chain. I turned to hide my welling pain. We danced around what burned inside, still lovers, though our love had died. One last almost not quite kiss, a moment we both chose to miss. So close to truth we turned away, afraid of what the words might weigh. One last maybe in your breath, one final pause before the death of all we were, of all we knew, the closeness we could not break through. The night grew thick, the time grew slow. You said, well, I guess I should go. I nodded once, my voice unsure, while every cell still begged for more. The bassline whispers soft goodbyes. I traced the hurt behind your eyes. You didn't ask and I stood still. We left each other by our will. If I had moved, if you had stayed, if one of us had disobeyed the rules we made to stay composed, could love have finally been exposed? But grown-up hearts are strange, with grace they ache, but never plead their case. And so we said what wasn't true. It's fine, I wish the best for you. One last almost, just a touch, too quiet, too polite, too much. We walked away like strangers do, but left a love that still feels new. And now I write these words for ghosts, for all our near and missed almost. The piano hums like closing doors, the bass retreats across the floors, and I remain where silence stays, inside the space between goodbyes. One last almost etched in time, a love that paused but didn't climb. You said I've been meaning to, then paused like breath caught in a bruise. I waited close, too scared to move, afraid your truth would cut me loose. The coffee steamed, but you went still, your fingers tapping windowsills, as if the words you meant to say couldn't quite find their perfect way. The silence stretched between your lips, like phrases drowned in sinking ships. You sighed, looked down, and glanced away, like maybe silence could convey. I heard the hurt between your lines, the quiet beat of sad designs. The air was thick with could-have-beens, with every pause you hid within. We paused between two words and froze between don't leave and I suppose. The truth hung heavy in the air, but neither one of us would dare to finish what our hearts had known. So we left meaning all alone. I could have asked, but I stayed mute. I watched you tie your scarf, look cute, the way you always did when scared, the way you looked when truth was there. You said it's late, I guess I'll go, and I just nodded soft and slow. The words I should have said got stuck behind my pride, behind my luck. If I had spoken, would you stay? Or would the truth just drift away? Sometimes it's not the lies that kill, but things we never voice but feel. There's heartbreak in a breath unbreathed, in all the lines we never sheathe. I think of you when rain arrives and thunder sounds like near goodbyes. Pause between two hearts we sank into the silence, soft and blank. No words to hold, no hand to take, just all the things we failed to break. You almost said you'd choose to stay. I almost begged, then looked away. And now I speak in songs and sighs, in dim cafes and cloudy skies, still paused between what could be true and all the words I meant for you. The music plays, the keys still fade around the things we never said. I saw you standing near the door. The crowd around was just a blur. You look like home I used to know, and I felt something start to grow. Your hand was resting on your sleeve, a gesture I still half believe. You smiled, but not the way you did. The years between us gently slid. I made a move, then took it back. My courage faded off its track. The saxophone began to sing of all the words I didn't bring. You turned away, your shoulders tight, as if unsure of wrong or right. I knew the time had come and gone, and yet the feeling still held on. Said too late, the words I kept fell somewhere, silence always slept. I had them ready, full and real, but never gave you time to feel. Said too late, like morning rain that falls when no one needs the pain. I let you go, then changed my mind, but time's not one to be unkind. I wrote you letters never sent, I played our songs in soft lament. I whispered lines I'll never share into the dark of midnight air. You're probably walking somewhere new with someone speaking clear and true. I hope they give what I could not, a love that's bold and never caught. Some hearts wait too long to speak, then shatter slow instead of weak. I waited for the perfect time, but silence doesn't rhyme with mine. If I had called, if I had tried, would you have stayed or still denied? We'll never know, and that's the crime. That truth was buried under time. Said too late, the words rang dull against a heart already full. You needed more than maybe plans. You needed love held in both hands, and I gave mine too slow, too thin. Regret now sings where we had been. The saxophone plays soft and wide. It holds the tears I've yet to hide. And though you're gone, I sometimes pray that echoes bring my words your way. I should have said them face to face, not left them drifting into space. Said too late, and that's the end of love I didn't learn to send. Your shadow rests against the wall, though you've been gone since early fall. The air still hums your favorite song, and somehow nights feel twice as long. The hope to chimes in soft repeat, like raindrops landing at my feet. I close my eyes and almost hear the words you never spoke, still near. I never asked you why you left, you never said, and that was best. We lived in nods and quiet grace, in glances no one could replace. I still make space for how you'd sit, that way you lean, that way you lit. A single thought would fill the air, without a need to say it there. Still here, still quiet, still echoing through what we were. I speak in silence, and every room still answers her. I never screamed when you were gone, just kept the music playing on, and let the stillness take control. You left, but silence kept your soul. The windows know your laughter's weight, the kettle sings though now it's late. I talk to chairs and feel you breathe, in spaces hearts forgot to leave. The upstuck rings like frozen stars, each note a thread between our scars. I know you're not behind the door, but part of you is something more. I don't replay the final day, it wasn't loud, it slipped away, like winter melting into spring. No final kiss, no sudden sting, just one last look and then you turned, and something deep inside me learned that love can speak without a word, and silence isn't always unheard. Still here, still quiet, still feeling you in every room. The way you stood when sunlight fell across the gloom. I hold the hush like sacred ground, your voice lives in the smallest sound, and though you're far, you still reside in everything you left inside. So if you ever wonder, love, if silence means I've given up, just close your eyes and you will see you're still here, still quiet, still with me. I didn't move your favorite chair, it still leans slightly to the right. I catch myself still placing cups, like you might show up late at night. The brush drums tap a steady sway, like heartbeats stuck in yesterday. I breathe around your ghost with care, pretending sometimes you're still there. The window holds your shape at dusk, I swear your jacket caught my eye. The hallway echoes like your laugh, but then it fades and so do I. I haven't cleaned the second drawer or tossed the scarf you left last fall. I keep these things like open doors, though no one walks these halls at all. The chair still faces yours, you know. I never turned it back to go. It waits in case you change your mind, or drift in with some softer time. I never said goodbye out loud, just let the silence build a shroud. And now each room still gently stores the fact your chair still faces yours. tea you like still lines the shelf. I haven't brewed a cup since then. My books all fall to poems you marked, and I still read them now and then. I guess I live in little signs, in bent routines and crooked blinds, in small resistances to truth that I let go too soon, too smooth. I never screamed, I never wept, just held it in like secrets kept. But every tap the drumsticks play sounds like a breath I didn't say. And maybe that's what silence is, a rhythm built from all we miss, a space between what stays and leaves, a place where someone still believes. The chair still faces yours tonight, beneath the low and golden light. And though I know you won't appear, I leave the space for you right here. And if you knock, the lock's not closed. The love is worn but never froze. The air still hums in quiet scores, where my heart waits and your chair faces yours. The brush drums fade like whispered snow. The room forgets, but I still know. And even if you don't return, your chair still waits with quiet yearn. I had the chance, the perfect hour. The world was still, the room in flower. You looked at me with eyes so kind, and yet I let the words unwind. The clarinet let out a sigh, as if it knew I'd let it die. That simple word, that single vow, I wish I'd dared to speak somehow. Love was the word I never chose, a garden that I didn't grow. I walked away from what was true, afraid of giving that to you. You waited quiet, just a beat, then turned away with aching feet. And though you said you understood, I wonder still if silence could. I whispered it to stars above. I wrote it once, then tore it up. And now I sing with clarinet. The word I lost still lives in regret. Love was the word I let go by, unspoken in our last goodbye. And though the song You never needed me to say the words we both let slip away. You always saw behind my eyes the things I fought, the soft goodbyes, the guitar hum beneath the light, a melody that held me tight. And though I never said it clear, you felt it every time, my dear. I traced your name in folded sheets, in morning light and shuffled beats. I poured you love in quiet ways, like waiting tea in sunlit days. You never asked for poems or vows. You read my soul without a sound, and in that stillness love would bloom without the need to fill a room. These are the words you didn't need, the ones I held but didn't bleed. You knew by how I touched your sleeve, or lingered long before I'd leave. I didn't say I'm scared to lose, or stay with me, whatever you choose. But still you stayed at least a while, with every sigh, with every smile. We spoke in silences so full of meaning, sweet and beautiful. A look, a pause, a dinner shared, 1,000 ways to say I cared. And now you're gone, yet still I feel that love was honest, deep and real. You left with grace, no final plea, just trusted I had loved you quietly. Sometimes the words get in the way and strip the moment's truth away. You taught me love can just be still, a choice, a warmth, a silent will. I sing them now, not to regret, but to remember, not forget, that even things we didn't say can live beyond the light of day. These are the words you didn't miss, the ones you felt in every kiss. I wish I'd said them once or twice, but maybe silence can suffice. You were the calm, I was the tide, and though we drifted with the sky, I hope you knew you always were the song I couldn't free. The guitar fades in gentle time, still finger pricked with loss and rhyme. And though I've written every need, you were the love who didn't need the words. I meant to tell you how the rain reminds me of your quiet pain, the way you touched my trembling hand, as if you always understand. I meant to say I loved your laugh, cut my sadness right in half, but every time I reached for light, my shadow always pulled me tight. These are things I meant to say, but silence got in love's own way. I wrote them down in dreams and songs, and kept them quiet for too long. The guitar hums like you once did, in chordal truths that I kept hid. I play them now with aching grace, and wish I'd set them to your face. Sometimes the words we never speak become the ones we always keep, and though you're gone, they live in me. The voice you never got to see. Finer things I'll never send, no letter sealed, no final end. But in the strings they're still in view, the things I meant to say to you. You never asked me why I stayed when all the colors turned to gray. You never asked about my dreams or why I cried behind the seams. The trumpet played a ghostly line, like someone reading every sign. You smiled but never touched the ache I held so tight I thought I'd break. You didn't ask where I would go when silence settled in the glow of quiet dinners, half-said words, and glances trapped like caged up birds. I wondered if you didn't care, or just too kind to press the air. You never asked what I had lost, or how I bore that hidden cause. These are the things you never asked, the feelings left behind the mask, the heavy pause, the turning head, the lonely side of our shared bed. You never asked why I grew still, or why I cried against my will. And so I stayed but wore a cast made from the things you never asked. I waited once for you to say, is something wrong, are you okay? But all we shared were subtle signs that love had slipped between the lines. The trumpet sang what I withheld, a note of sorrow softly spelled. You kissed my cheek, then turned away, and that's how we forgot to stay. just stayed a ghost in skin while hoping you'd come search within. It wasn't fights or cruel neglect, but just a love we didn't check. You never asked the things that bled, and I ran dry with words unsaid. These are the things you'll never know, because you didn't choose to go beneath the smile, beneath the roll, to find the silence in my soul. And now we drift apart at last, held by the things you never asked. The trumpet fades into the dusk, like one last sigh of gentle rust. You didn't lie, you didn't mask, you just forgot to ever ask. You sent a line so short, so plain, just words without a hint of pain. No punctuation, no regard, just silence dressed in greeting cards. I stared at it 100 times, then typed out truth in quiet rhymes. But every time I clicked erase, afraid my heart would lose its place. The cello sighed beneath the light as I rewrote the things I might have told you. If the past was kind, if I had braved what I couldn't find. I drafted hope, I drafted pain, I wrote the way you said my name. But then I paused and closed the screen and left it there unread, unseen. This is my unwritten reply, the voice I muted asking why. A melody I couldn't send, a letter never meant to end. You'll never know the words I meant, because my silence was content. I saw you post a photograph. You look the same, still wore that scarf. I almost pressed react or write, but left the moment out of sight. What could I say that wouldn't bruise? What kind of truth did I refuse? The cello sang what I denied, a song of things I left inside. Some hearts don't break, they just go still. They keep the shape, they keep the will. They beat in quiet, hidden keys beneath the chords of memories. I never told you what I felt. I held it in and let it melt into the strings that softly weep, for love too fragile to keep. This is my unwritten reply, a tender wound I can't deny. I frame the words with care and grace, then let them fade without a trace. Perhaps you sensed it in the air, a voice that loved you but stayed bare. And now the cello bows goodnight, a quiet song, no need to fight. I whispered truth to falling rain. My love was real, though unproclaimed. I spoke in silence, soft and shy. This was my unwritten reply. You asked me once, are you okay? I smiled and softly looked away. There was so much I couldn't voice, so I just left you with the choice. I wore the calm, I wore the grace, while storms were dancing in my face. I hid the truth in careful tone, afraid to break, afraid to own. The violin began to wake, with every note my silence faked. You reached for me, I held back fast, still haunted by a broken past. I meant to say I'm scared to lose, but fear will wrap you up like shoes. I walked away with hollow pride and left the truth I meant to hide. What I meant to say was, please don't go, that I still care more than you know. The nights are long and days feel gray without the warmth you used to lay. What I meant to say was, I'm not fine, that I still wish that you were mine. But I just nodded, played my part, while silence tore apart my heart. I thought I had more time to speak, that love was something slow and meek. But moments pass like falling leaves, and all we're left with are beliefs. I thought that you would understand, that you could read my shaking hands. But love needs more than subtle signs, it needs the courage to define. I wrote you letters in my head, composed of tears I never shed. The violin sang every line, the fear and doubt left far behind. I never told you I still dream of holding you in silence deep, of all the words I never dared, and how I wish that you had cared. What I meant to say was, stay with me, that you're still where I long to be. But I just stood and watched you fade, and let the ending masquerade. What I meant to say was, forgive, but I forgot how to admit. So now I sing where I once stayed, the words I meant too late relate. The violin now gently weeps for all the truths our silence keeps. And maybe you still sometimes hear the love I meant, but cloaked in fear. What I meant to say, I sing today. You open lips and close tight, tight. Moment passed into the night. I watched your hands betray your mind, a tremble lost in measured time. The lamp was low, the coffee cold, the story paused, the lie half told. I waited there, one breath behind, a sentence stuck you left behind. And in your eyes a flicker burned, a phrase you wished you never learned. But silence swept across your face and turned your truth to empty space. What you almost said still rings through quiet rooms and tangled strings. A half-formed word on its side, a love that never learned to fly. You didn't speak, I didn't stay, but still I hear you every day. The muted guitar played soft and slow, like shadows dancing on your soul. You stirred your drink, then looked away. The moment asked, but you betrayed. You smiled like someone playing parts, a mask worn tight around your heart. You nearly reached, then pulled back in, as if confessing were a sin. There's music in the things we hide, the melodies we keep inside. And though no word escaped your mouth, I felt the storm you kept in drought. What you almost said still rings through years of quiet, ghostly things. It never died, it only waits in echoes of unopened gates. You never spoke, but I still knew. The silence said it all from you. I hear it now in midnight haze, in quiet drives, in minor praise, in books I read, in songs I hum, in every place I should have run. I say your name when I'm alone, in thoughts that curl like saxophone. The sentence hangs, it never ends, a letter torn I never send. What you almost said remains, like lipstick marks on window panes, like perfume fading into air, like footprints gone but still not bare. You didn't say it, I replied, with silence louder than your pride. And now we speak in dreams and signs, in silent looks and paused lines. You never said, I never stayed, but still we almost made. We almost made. You stood there with your suitcase down, the taxi waiting by the sound. You looked at me with searching eyes, like someone hoping for a sign. Your mouth half open, breath held tight, my heart a storm I couldn't fight. And in that moment truth was near, but silence wrapped around my fear. I could have said don't go just yet, I could have begged, I could have wept, but pride is such a quiet thief. It robs the soul, then hides beneath. You turned and walked, your steps unsure. I stayed like stone, love insecure. The guitar strummed what I betrayed, the words I didn't find or say. When I didn't say stay, you left without a scream, without a theft. But in my silence, loud and plain, I carved our love with quiet pain. And now each night I close my eyes and whisper all I let go by. The days go on, the scenes replay, the jacket you wore, that shade of gray. your fingers brushing mine by chance, a hesitation, one last glance. I should have stepped across the space, should have touched your sleeve, your face, should have found one brave cliche, but all I did was look away. And now I live with echoes faint, with all the words I didn't paint. I write them now in melody, a song for who I didn't be. Sometimes it hurts more to restrain than risk a fall, than bear the rain. And though I seem to move just fine, I'm haunted by that fragile line. When I didn't say stay, you knew that love unspoken can undo. You didn't cry, you didn't plead, but left behind what we both need. And I remain with what I lack, the strength to pull your leaving back. The guitar hums a soft goodbye, each string a wish, each note a sigh. I speak too late, I sing too low, but hope you hear it in the flow. If I could turn that day around, I'd find the words, I'd make the sound. But now it's just this song I play, the one I wrote too late to say. Rain had just begun to fall. You walked ahead, I trailed the hall. Your coat still held the smell of June, our silence humming like a tune. I almost said your name out loud, but fear can gather like a cloud. You reached the door, your hand half raised. The moment stalled, the time delayed. The guitar strummed its trembling song like truth that's held in place too long. You didn't turn but paused a beat, as if you felt me underneath. My mouth was dry, my pulse unsure, the words too honest to endure. I told myself you wouldn't stay, but deep inside I hoped you may. You almost turned around, I saw the way your shoulders held the floor between goodbye and holding tight, between retreat and making right. But I stood still and let you go, and now I'll never fully know if one more step, one single sound could have made you turn around. The world kept spinning, days moved on, but something from that night lives on. A ghost inside, unfinished thoughts, a warmth that time has never caught. I picture you in other towns, still walking slow, still looking down, still wondering if I was near, still haunted by what you might hear. There's no great fight, no sharp regret, just little moments steeped in sweat, just half a smile, a quiet doubt, a life we almost talked about. The strings keep ringing in my mind, the things I didn't say in time, and though you're gone I still replay the nearly turn you made that day. You almost turned around, it's true, and part of me still waits for you inside that hall, inside that light that held the end. We didn't fight, I wish I'd called, I wish I'd run, but I just froze, and now it's done. So if you ever think of me in quiet rooms or memory, just know I saw you hesitate, I saw the choice, I saw the weight, and maybe love was never found, but still you almost turned around. I never told you why I stayed, or why I looked the other way. You never asked, but somehow knew the things I couldn't say to you. Our hands would meet, then pull apart, like frightened birds or half a start. We shared a silence rich and wide, where feelings lived but couldn't hide. The trumpet whispered all I meant, in notes more honest than intent. You'd smile like someone who had heard a love that didn't need the word. You always saw through what I masked, and never pushed and never asked. And that was love in its own way, the kind that doesn't beg to stay. I never said I love you still. You felt it when the night stood still, and how I brewed your morning tea, and how I stayed and didn't flee. You knew anyway, through every pause, through quiet care and all its flaws. The words I feared to let you hear were louder just by being near. There were no fights, no final cries, just gentle looks and soft goodbyes. You left your scarf upon the chair, as if to say, I know you care. I touched it once, then looked away, my heart too tired to make you stay. You gave me grace I didn't earn, a silent love that doesn't burn. Some people need to hear it said, while others feel it in their stead. You read the quiet in my breath, the ache I held, the inner depth. And when I failed to find the line, you met me where the shadows shine. Not every love must raise its voice, some loves just echo with their choice. You knew anyway before the fall, before the echo filled the hall, before we folded what we had into a memory warm and sad. I never said it, but you knew that every hush was made I watched you stare across the floor, so close yet further than before. The room was full but we were bare, a silence hanging in the air. The trumpet whispered what I felt, notes bending low where words had knelt. You looked like someone trying not to speak the truth your eyes had caught. On your side of the silence stood the love we never understood. You didn't reach, I didn't call, and in between we lost it all. I leaned a bit, you moved away, as if the night might let us stay in limbo sweet where nothing breaks and silence hides the hearts it takes. The trumpet moaned like quiet tears, like time dissolving all our years. I wondered if you felt the same, but never dared to speak your name. On your side of the silence still, I wait where words had lost their will. And though you said no final line, the silence was entirely